Well, Saturday, December 9th, it's noon Eastern Time. I'm Bob Harris. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. It's time for our weekly Ask Me Anything live stream. It was almost delayed because of kicker news. Good grief. How does that happen? I'll get to all that. Before we get to all the news and all the fun and all the good stuff and the kicker news, I know you're all dying to hear it. FootballDiehards.com is the website. We appreciate you joining us here on the YouTube channel every Saturday at this time. Also, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for our On the Hot Seat live streams. Great guests. Go back and check out Armando Marsal from the Fantasy Guru site. Was on. Great spot with a good friend, a former diehard and a great guy. So listen to that. Still plenty of pertinent information there. But I'm going to talk about something about this in a minute. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, all that kind of stuff. And then like me or dislike me. I'm fine with either one. Welcome. It's week 14 and all that goes with it. Am I right about that? Good grief. Happy to see everyone here. Let me get to the comments and see what do we got going here. Good morning, Kevin. And good morning. I'll get to the questions. Good afternoon. Steve. Hello. Or it's Jim. Steve. Paul. Hello, everybody. I'll get to the questions here momentarily. Remy, how are you? Good to see everybody here. Oh, it's a big list of questions. All right. Happy Saturday indeed. A lot going on today as we will get to. Good morning, John. Thanks for coming. Golf Boy, good to see you. The great Andrea Stolinski. Stislowski. Let me say it right. Good Lord, how embarrassing. Ron, how are you? Good to see everybody. Appreciate everyone stopping in. So we are week 14, right? And we've hit that point in the season where every question matters. Every single thing is like becoming increasingly important as we get closer to the end of the season. By the way, the kicker news, Mason Crosby promoted to the active roster by the Rams. They weren't sure if that was going to be the case. Hello, Matty Boy. Hey, Pat V. Hey, Dame. How are you? Good to see you. And so they weren't sure. Like earlier this morning, I did an update that they were still deciding. They've decided. And so Mason Crosby, the former Packers kicker, will get the nod in this one this week. It hadn't been great for the predecessor of the rookie, Lucas Havrisik. He's missed 3 total kicks in the last 2 games, so they're playing a little safe. Kicks might matter in this game. Here, there's going to be a bunch of weather on the eastern side of the world, so we'll talk a little bit about how that impacts our fantasy fortunes and our expectations and kind of clouds or unclouds the issues. And I guess that's what I kind of want to start out with, right? Like, you've all been here a lot. You can know what I've got going. We're going to discuss things, right? Like, so, and you're going to ask questions and you want answers, and I'm going to give you the answers. And I'm going to tell you, though, the answers, we want to reduce everything to black and white, this or that, one or the other. We want to be trapped in that prison of one thing, right? We want that one answer. There is not one answer because we don't know the outcomes, right? So we're going to sit here and we're going to discuss some of the probabilities and some of the possibilities given the options laid out. And then you're going to make a decision based on your range of possibilities, right? You might agree with me. You might not agree with me. I'm here to kind of just give you an idea, maybe help you think through the issues. I'm going to get a lot of questions about, is it crazy too? No, it's probably not crazy. I don't know if it's always advisable, but we'll discuss that as we get to them as well. And there's like situations, I think, that what we learn over the course of years of playing fantasy football. There are situations out there like that right now. Let's look at Austin Eckler. Brandon Staley has said he's going to open up. There's going to be more competition for touches, right? And so we've seen Austin Eckler has not been good, right? It's not been good. In fact, it's been downright bad. If you're sitting out here and you drafted Austin Eckler, you're not happy with the outcome. Started out great, right? But among running backs with at least 100 carries since week 5, he has the fewest rushing yards, 329. The lowest yards per carry, 3.0. He has 28 straight carries that have gone for 6 yards or fewer, tied for the second longest streak by any player this season, only trailing his own 48-yard stretch from weeks 1 through 8. So last week, I think he had like 1.3 yards per carry, 14 carries, 18 yards. So it hasn't been good, right? So that information is lodged in our brains. We see that. We've had horrible outcomes, yet we still want to play him. Then we get this news this week, right? That, man, we're going to see maybe more Joshua Kelly. Maybe Isaiah Spiller gets in the mix. Wow, what's that going to do? So what do you do with an Austin Eckler? I mean, at this point, you're just playing the name, right? But with the name comes history. He has a long history of great production. We're hoping he regains that. But what is the right formula for deciding between, okay, this guy has that potential. We know he's capable of this. Haven't seen it for a while. Why haven't we seen it? What are the reasons behind that? And what are the possible outcomes? Has Joshua Kelly been really good? No. He's been better when Austin Ekeler plays, that's for sure. But he hasn't been great when he's been getting his opportunities either. Maybe there's more to it than just Austin Ekeler sucking. Maybe they're having a tough matchup as well. Maybe their defense playing poorly is putting them in bad positions to execute the scheme as they would love to execute the scheme. Maybe the offensive line's not doing the job, right? So like it's a nuanced answer. And I think, again, we want to, deduce everything to the simplest possible thing. There could be weather there. Does that mean we want to just avoid the weather? Brings up another situation, right? So we're going to get Austin Ekeler questions, and you're going to say, am I crazy to start so-and-so? No, probably you're not. I mean, it's not been good for Austin Ekeler. And if you're starting Austin Ekeler, again, you're starting his name in the history and hoping he regains that past form, which is entirely possible. I don't know if it's the most likely outcome, though. Right, so that's going to be a little issue. I see some comments in here on Keaton Mitchell. That's another situation. How do we handle Keaton Mitchell? Last game before the bye against the Chargers, a very lackluster defense, he was the lead role. Easily got the lead role. Had the bulk of the snaps and kick touches at the running back position. We know Gus Edwards is kind of touchdown dependent. If he doesn't get the touchdown, he's kind of a low end running back 3 kind of range guy. And Keaton Mitchell has huge upside. That's where the decision comes in. Like if I'm sitting here and I'm answering questions today about Keaton Mitchell, I want to play Keaton Mitchell, but I want to hear your options and I want to hear your situation. Maybe Keaton Mitchell is more a guy you play for that super upside, right? Because we don't know for sure. I mean, I think he's going to keep the role, but I think he's going to keep the primary role going forward because that's my desired outcome. That's what I've been touting all along, right? So we have to put all these things in context of do I know Keaton Mitchell is going to be the lead back for the Baltimore Ravens? I do not know. I think. I hope. If he does, we know what kind of player he is if he gets those opportunities. Another situation that I'm getting lots of questions on this week is about C.J. Stroud in the Texans passing attack. There is no Tank Dell. You'll be surprised to learn, people. He's been ruled out. Nobody's surprised to learn that. You all knew that. But people want to know, should they play Nico Collins? It's a tough matchup for Nico Collins going against Sauce Gardner, most likely, right? Maybe a little easier matchup for Noah Brown, just DJ Reader and maybe without safety help. So, but it's bad weather. Do we trust CJ Stroud to get the job done? I've gotten a lot of questions. Should I play CJ Stroud or Josh Dobbs? Well, I'm probably saying the weather. The weather's going to be bad. So these layers of fear and uncertainty come in, and that uncertainty is a vacuum, and it sucks up all our worst thoughts, right? When we have uncertainty, we fill that vacuum with the worst possible outcomes to protect ourselves, right? So be mindful of that. On the weather, one of the things that I would remind everyone is the forecast is not always 100% correct. So a lot of times if the question is about CJ Stroud or anyone playing on the East Coast where the weather's horrible, if you have the ability to, wait until tomorrow and see how the weather is, right? Sometimes it's not as bad as they advertise it to be. So a lot of things to go through. And just, wanted to get some initial thoughts off my chest. Jake Browning, must play him. He was great last week. Well, he was great last week. Will he be great this week? I don't know, but it's possible. What are your options? What are you trying to achieve? What's your situation in your game? So there you go. Let's run through some news real quick because there are a couple newsy things going on. Not just the kicker news, people, real news, actual news that you can use. Isaiah Pacheco ruled out in this game. Brings up another subject. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Andy Reid's comment on him was, depending on the package, he's the number one, but we have different packages. So Jerick McKinnon's going to be in the mix. I have a little history with Jerick McKinnon. He's won me some titles last year, right? Haven't seen much of him this year. Have a longer history of not seeing much from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. This is a great matchup. Do I want to play those guys? Probably so. Do I know which one I want to play? I think that's open to interpretation, right? This is a vague situation. It's hard to have certainty in these things. Trevor Lawrence has the high ankle sprain. He has been practicing with a brace. The local people I talk to, and I hear from a handful of them, all think he's like about 80-20 to play or better. I think he's going to give it a go too. He has a history. He has a history, right, of doing this, right? We can go back last year. What was it? He had a toe injury last season against Detroit in the first half, came back in the second half, didn't miss the start the rest of the season, had the sprained left knee in week 6 against the Colts, played 4 days later against the Saints and led the team in rushing. So that's okay. Travis Etienne, by the way, and Dearness Johnson, both questionable. They're expected to play. Justin Jefferson's back. Josh Dobbs is his quarterback. Derrick Henry was never in the concussion protocol, people. He had some symptoms, but he was never in the protocol. So he's got that going for him. How a lot of people thought it was going to be, I get a lot of questions that seem to think that he's not going to play. He is not in danger. He's not on the injury. He's on the injury report as a resting player, not concussion. Was not in the protocol, according to Mike Vrabel. Derek Carr no longer in the concussion protocol, but everyone else is questionable. I think Carr is officially questionable, but I think he's going to play. But everyone else, like Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill, Rashid Shaheed, and just seeing the news this morning, Nick Underhill from New Orleans Football is saying that Shaheed's injury is worse than expected, so don't expect him back anytime soon. Zach Wilson's back. Love that. If you're a Garrett Wilson manager. Breece Hall, questionable in that game. I'm not sure about him this week. He only got in the practice field on a limited basis one day. Puka Nacua is off the injury report. Christian Watson seems unlikely to play on Monday night, but Aaron Jones seems like he has a chance. So those are some of the headline news. I know you have a lot of questions, and I've been sitting here rambling for a few minutes. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Bob Harris. Hi, how are you? Damn glad to see you. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. Appreciate y'all showing up here, hanging out with me today. And I know you have questions and you would like me to answer them. And I think I will. I think that's what I'm going to do right now. You've been very patient, and I appreciate that. See what we've got here. A lot of people in the chat. So many questions. All right. I'm almost ready. I'm just checking. Oh, look, I'm seeing who else showed up. Hey, how's it going, Scampers? Good to see you. Hey, Scott Goby, big high stakes guy, huh? About to make some money. Toronto Dave in the house. All right. I've been putting off the questions, haven't I? I don't mean to put off the questions. I want to get the questions. I love the questions. The questions are great. I don't know if the answers are great. The questions I love, though. All right. In the playoffs, trying for bye next week is Kevin O'Brien. Best PPR flex, Zay Flowers versus the Rams. Taysom Hill versus Carolina. Jerome Ford versus Jacksonville. Chuba Hubbard at New Orleans. I'm going with Chuba Hubbard there. Like the workload. Saints defense is tough, right? But I don't know that it's impenetrably tough. So I think I saw a note. What was it? David Newton from ESPN was asked to make a bold prediction for the game. He wrote, Young will have 2 touchdown passes. Go Jonathan Mingo. And we'll get a second straight 100-yard rushing effort from Chuba Hubbard. His thesis was the Saints are not great. They rank 30 in sacks and 24th against the run. And he thinks that will help spark the Carolina offense. Beyond that, you guys know what I'm a sucker for. I'm a sucker for volume. And right now, Chuba Hubbard is getting the volume. He's coming off 2 really strong weeks. I like him. Jerome Ford, Jacksonville's run defense, pretty tough. Also, don't know who's going to start a quarterback. By the way, I should have mentioned that in news. It's going to be Joe Flacco or Dorian Thompson-Robinson. It's going to be Joe Flacco, right? It's going to be Flacco. We'll see if Amari Cooper's there. He's questionable, still in the concussion protocol. So that's the direction I go. Taysom Hill, by the way, among those questionable New Orleans Saints. Multiple injuries, hand and foot. He did not practice all week. Damn it. Otherwise, I'd love to play him, especially with Carr beat up. All right, Kevin O'Brien. Need to win to get in. Close projected matchup in a PPR league. Would you trust Austin Eckler in Denver or go with David Montgomery in Chicago? I would go David Montgomery in this case. Pardon me for looking down. There's news happening, but it's not news we care about. Unless we're playing IDP. Nick Bolton. Activated from injured reserve. I'm playing. So, if you missed the top of the program, I went into length about this Austin Eckler. Why are we playing Austin Eckler right now? He's not very good. David Montgomery, on the other hand, has been good, and so I'm gonna go ahead. I think this is a pretty easy one for me. I think a lot of the questions I've gotten, there's a wider disparity between the range of outcomes. The high end of the range of possible outcomes for David Montgomery is super high, right? So. I would go with that. And like if Austin Eckler goes off, great. You can use him again another week. And that's one of the problems we have with some of these players who have history, right? That we've leaned on and we've found useful in the past. We're reluctant to let go of that history because if we do, we're going to feel foolish when they go off. I knew he was going to do that. I knew it. Ah! Get over it. Part of the deal. Anyway, not you, Kevin. You're already over it. You're asking the question. Kevin O'Brien has another question. Superflex League, second quarterback. Will you go with Joe Flacco, Jacksonville, or play Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, whoever plays versus Carolina? If Joe Flacco's starting, I prefer to play Joe Flacco. He has what? Well, maybe he'll be down Cooper. Man, I don't know who the hell is playing for New Orleans. Chris Olave has the flu. I think he'll be back, but I'm not sure. Alvin Kamara is going to feast in that game. Play Alvin Kamara. as your second quarterback in a super flex. No, Joe Flacco would be my choice if I got the choice. Because you know what, I think Carr's going to start, goes in beat up. Can he make it through the whole game? I don't know. I don't want to deal with that. I'm Bob Harris. I'm not dealing with that. Paul DeSantis in the house. Hi, Paul. Morning, Bob. Stuck a quarterback. Would you start a gimpy Lawrence at Cleveland or go with Minshew at Cincy, Browning versus Colts, Baker at Atlanta? Yes. I probably would. Like I do think if a gimpy Lawrence plays, and I think one of the factors that they have to decide in Jacksonville is there are players like I don't know, Myles Garrett, among others, pretty disruptive playmakers there, and you know they can get after the pass for a little bit. It's a tough defense. I would be a little concerned, and I wonder if that's not going to be part of the decision. I do think Lawrence is going to play, but I maybe set my sights a little lower. And obviously, if I can play a healthy player who I think has a reasonable chance at producing over a not healthy player who maybe has a little more upside, but also has that great downside. This is what we're talking about, that range of possible outcomes. Could Trevor Lawrence have a fantastic game against the Cleveland defense? Well, not a lot of quarterbacks have, but it's possible. Could he also, aggravate an existing injury that's kind of a bad injury? Also possible. So, look, anyone can get hurt, right? We know that, but somebody going in hurt, that's a little more worrisome for me. So, yes, I would start any of those other guys. And I think, let me just double check, because I think I ranked them Minshew, Baker, Browning. But it's so close that I don't care which one you play. It is Minshew, Mayfield, Browning, 15, 16, and 18. Got Geno Smith in there, and I don't think I played Geno Smith because I think he's really questionable. So there. All right, PPR Steve Linder, PPR tight end, keep getting second-guessing choices. Of course you do. That's what we do. We're fantasy managers. That's our job, second-guessing ourselves right up until we can't. And then we go, damn it, why didn't I second-guess myself one more time? I don't know the answer to that. Conklin versus Texans, Jordan versus Jets, Juwan versus Carolina, Hudson versus Colts. Juwan is one of the questionable players for the Saints. Also questionable. There's like four of them. Like Group A is questionable as well there. Olave, so Carr's questionable. Olave's questionable. Shaheed is questionable, although I think he's more like out. Taysom Hill's questionable. He did not practice all week. Juwan Johnson limited all week. I think he'll probably play, but I'm not going to play him. I probably played Revan Jordan against the Jets. I like the matchup. If you're scared of the weather, I'm not against Hudson versus the Colts. I'm also not against Conklin versus Texans, but if the weather's an issue there as well. So I probably rank them Jordan, Conklin, Hudson, and if Hudson's in the clear on the weather, then maybe that's the choice. He's very good. Another one from Steve Lindor. Flex PPR. Any worries with starting DK this week with Geno injuries? If I didn't, other options would be Zay Flowers, Rams, or perhaps CH versus Bills. I mean, I wouldn't be averse to playing CH versus the Bills. Again, I've been stressing this all along. Less than ideal quarterback situations don't mean not quarterback situations. I think an ideal in this case maybe would be Drew Lock. I mean, he's willing to put the ball up. I tried to go out and find the splits of Metcalf with Lock last night. I was like overrun with other things, so I didn't get that study completed. I'm going to look into that. That's another thing, right? Like we sit here and we do this on Wednesday. Like my process starts on Monday. I start looking at everything that happened, checking snap counts, looking at workloads, trying to figure things out. We're going to write things Monday and Tuesday, get into Wednesday, start assimilating the news that's coming in. Everything is a process, right? We get more information. We're better informed with each passing day. We know more than we knew the day before. Right. And we're trying to learn more actively while we're this. And one of these things is, what's Locke got going? I think Locke can still sling the ball. I don't know that I dial back. If you were already starting DK, I don't know that I dial back because I think Locke can sling it. Right. So that's probably it. I do think CEH might be a reasonable option against the Bills, though. I think. But if you're playing DK, I don't know that I would change. I don't know that I would change away from him. Which tight end would you for this week? Isaiah Likely. I likely like them both. They're pretty decent matchups for both of them. If I recall, for Likely, what do we got? Rams allowed 10 plus fantasy points to tight ends 8 times this season. They've given up 6 touchdown catches and the 3rd most fantasy points per game to tight end. That's pretty good. But I also think Gerald Everett is a pretty good play. Let me just check the numbers there, if I'm not mistaken. Mm. He's played 81 snaps combined for 22.7 PPR points. Broncos are allowing 9+ points to tight ends 10 times, including 2 with more than 20. They've allowed the second most points and the fourth highest catch rate. This is pretty even, right? I would I would go with likely, but if the weather's a factor there, and it may well be, right? Then I could pivot away. Again, on the weather, I'm waiting until tomorrow to decide these things because the weather forecasts, you're going to be surprised to learn this, people. I just learned this like 100 years ago. Weather forecast not always correct. Yeah, yeah. Don't forget to like me. Like me. Me. I'm Bob Harris. Hello. In case you're just tuning in, I'm just ranting away here. Answering questions. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll get to every question. I'll start racing here pretty soon because it looks like there's a lot of them, and I'll try to go faster. In the meantime, go to FootballDiehards.com. Also, if you're not familiar with me or my work, you can hear me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio on Monday, Thursday, Fridays. That's 10 p.m. each of those nights. 3 hours on Monday and Thursday. 3 hours tonight, Saturday, and we're on NFL Radio and the Fantasy Channel. We being me and Mike Dempsey. Gary Davenport will be joining us tonight, and the great Jamie Calandra to talk a little DFS. If you missed the DFS lineup show last night with Jamie and Eric, go to the YouTube channel, watch the replay. Tons of good information. I listened to the entirety last night because I wasn't on the radio, and it was fantastic. They do such a good job. Go listen to them. And also on Sundays, I'm on the pregame show with Jeff Mance, 11 to 1 pregame, right before the game. Pregame. All right. And like me or dislike me, I'm fine. Feed that algorithm. Hello, Steve Pavia. What's your take on use of KC running backs? We keep Rashee Rice in the flex or insert McKinnon? It's a mystery, right? If we're playing McKinnon, we're hoping he turns into the thing we saw down the stretch last season. That is possible. We have not seen that this year. What have we seen this year? I've got numbers to back my contention. I don't want to get too deep into numbers on these because I'm not going to answer all the questions if I dig too deep in the numbers, but still, I want to dig into these numbers because I think it merits your attention. Edwards Hilaire, what do we got? I mean, I don't know that I trust him. I trust him. The Bills defense, though, is giving up 4.7 yards per carry. That's the fourth most in the NFL. We'll see if CH can do this. I think McKinnon has what this year? Very little, right? He's got the 3 touchdowns. Honestly, I would probably. I mean, I'd be fine sticking with Rice. He seems to have emerged as the wide receiver one. I tend to prefer running backs and offenses where it's a little vague, where the workloads of the receivers are a little vague. I think we're gaining clarity on Rice. He's becoming more and more important, and the usage is a mystery. So if I want to avoid that, I think Rashee Rice's usage is a little less mysterious to me, and that might be the direction I go. I mean, we're looking at what Rice has: 52 catches, 591 yards. It's been a little inconsistent. Led the targets 2 straight weeks now. Had 14 fantasy points in 2 straight games. Has 8 or more in each of his last 8. I mean, that's you're getting a decent floor with Rashee Rice. I'd probably stay there because the uncertainty at the running back situation might get a huge game. Might get a huge game from Jerick McKinnon. He's capable of those. Last year he was like what, running back 2 down the stretch. Last 6 games. Defensive options: the Saints versus Carolina, Packers versus New York Jets. I like them both. I'd probably play the Saints. Mike Arts, full PPR, need 4. Debo versus Seattle, Nico versus Jets, Ridley versus Browns, Addison versus Raiders, Stubbs versus Giants. Have Keenan Allen's wide receiver 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got to sit one of those. I'd probably sit Addison. I don't know what's going to happen with Justin Jefferson back. I don't think Addison doesn't have a role, and I think the matchup's really great against the Raiders. The weather will be good in Vegas. But also, Josh Dobbs has not been fantastic. So I don't know which Josh Dobbs we're getting, right? Maybe coming off the bye, they've coached him up and they feel a little better about him. I like all those other guys. Like if you're worried about the weather when you tune in and see what's going on in New York, and Nico does face tough coverage, I would contend he faced tough coverage last week, passed through Can 2, and he ended up with 191 yards. So yes, tough coverage not ideal. It's not like a death sentence, right? So There you go. So I would probably dial back. Ridley, maybe if it's not, it's a tough matchup for him as well. Quarterback could be an issue. I mean, I think Beathard is serviceable if he ends up playing. Um, yeah, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going to go. I'm going to go Addison. PPR Herbert or Tua. I play Tua against Tennessee. It's a great matchup. A lot of offense. I would like to get into the numbers of Miami's offense because they're remarkable, and including Tua's numbers, which he hasn't been like a huge weekly scorer, but I think on games where the passing attack is going to lead the way, he's been fantastic, and I think that'll be the case. And by the way, you're welcome, my cards. I appreciate you too. I appreciate all y'all. Hi, Bob. I have a wide receiver question. PPR league. I need to bench one: Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Samuel versus Seattle, DJ Moore versus Detroit. Not going to tell you. You're going to have to decide that yourself. You can't make me. I'm not sitting any of those guys. I'm finding a place for all of them. If I had to bench one, I mean, Samuel's the lowest guy in my rankings of this group this week, and he's inside the top 20, I want to say. What? I hate these questions because there's not a right answer. Everybody is the correct answer. Play them all. It's obviously the right answer. I hate that question, honestly, Remy. I'm probably my hunch is Samuel. I don't expect another 3 touchdown game. It's entirely possible. You could say Justin Jefferson if you just want to give him a week to see how it looks with Dobbs. I mean, I don't have him ranked as a top 3. I'm ranked like a 6, and that's a little unknowable. That's an impossible question, dude. Honestly, I'm going to sit Samuel, and I have no idea if I'm right or not. You've got literally 4 top 10 wide receivers. One other PPR: Javonte versus Chargers, or either CEH, McKinnon versus Bills. I like them all, but I mean, the easy call here is the one who I know is going to get the workload. It's Javonte Williams. John Cusack needs one. PPR Dubs: Brown versus New York Jets, Thielen versus New Orleans. Not Thielen. Maybe Thielen over Dubs. Maybe not. I mean, it's a great matchup for Dubs. I want to play Brown, but I mean, again, check the weather. I mean, I think his matchup's going to be a little more favorable. We saw last week he wasn't great, but the games before his injury, he was phenomenal. I think this, depends on how you feel about the Houston passing attack against the Jets and the weather. Maybe you wait to see the weather. Again, I've heard, the thing that worries me is not the rain. They catch footballs in the rain, they catch footballs in the snow and in the wind, but gusts sounds like big gusts of wind. Like if it's a super heavy downpour and I have other options that are close, why? So I'd probably go Brown, then Dubs, and Thielen in this case. Pretty close, though. I should check that. Actually, I like Thielen better than Dubs, and I hate that. It hasn't been great. Thielen has not been great without. Thielen's better with Frank Reich, right? It's just he is. But I'm still going with him over Dubs. There you have it. Brown, Thielen, Dubs. Y'all have some hard questions today. Hard questions. Got another one. Singletary versus New York Jets, Pierce versus New York Jets, or Herbert versus Detroit. All are bad choices. The Jets are easy to run against. It's the split that's going to be the issue. And last week, Pierce got a little more. I think the people who covered the team closely still think Singletary's the lead piece. But, what does that mean if Pierce is getting looks at the goal line? I do like the matchup if the weather's bad. I like that. I think it might be a murky 3-man committee for Chicago, though, and that would cloud it even further. We saw Roschon Johnson get all the run last week. Does he this week? I don't know. I think that had a lot to do. He's a good pass protector. I think that kept him in the game. Deontay Foreman's back in the mix. Look, I'm old enough to remember early in the season when Deontay Foreman was a healthy scratch in favor of Herbert and Johnson. I don't know if that's going to be the case. If that was the case, I'd feel a little better about Herbert. But it's a tough run defense. I'm probably going to play Singletary, Pierce, and Herbert in that order. Or maybe y'all make me think. No, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going Singletary, Pierce, and Herbert. My instincts were correct. The algorithm agrees. I love it when that happens. All right. Question. I want to get more easier. Let's see how far behind I am on questions. I got to get rolling here. It looks like. We're about halfway through. I'm Bob Harris. Hi, how are you? Pleasure to meet you. If you haven't been here before, if you have been here before, thank you for your patience and waiting for me to get to your questions. I know I ramble on endlessly, but I want to get, I want to share the nuance and discuss, some of the finer points along the way because I think they're important. I know you just want your answer and your yes or no, or many of you do, many of you don't. I don't know, but I want to give them to you if you can. I'm playing CJ Stroud over Dobbs unless I turn on the TV and the weather is horrible. I'm just playing the better player, right? So it's okay if that's your hunch. It's perfectly fine. I will remind you that Jesse, that Dobbs has been horrible last game and a half, right? 7 turnovers, including 4 interceptions last game. I think he barely held on to the starting job because they don't have great options. He's got mobility, so I like that. I prefer to play Stroud all day long. If you're worried about the matchup, I get it. The Jets have been pretty tough on quarterbacks. The Raiders not. So it's not out of the question. I think this is where I, go to my channel, my inner Jeff Mans, and you build a depth chart, and I tend to play my depth chart because if we get to every week, trying to outsmart ourselves, we hit and we miss, right? If you stick with the best player, you generally hit more often than you miss. But like if this is an important game and you think it's truly out, like you have great qualms about playing CJ Stroud, or you turn on the TV or you hear the pregame reporting, you're listening to me and Mans, well know this, and you just see the weather's brutal and you just go, man, the winds are whipping at 50 miles an hour. I don't want to do that. Yeah, the Dobbs is fine. And if you want to play Dobbs is fine. I'm playing Stroud unless I can. John Fusek, need one tight end flex. Tight end is a half point. And by the way, going back, I think, am I going to tend to be a little more conservative with your decisions than I am my decisions? Maybe so, right? Like, I think that's probably trying to be responsible. But also, if I had that same decision, I'd play Stroud. I mean, this is not me like trying to get off the hook. Oh, I saw the name Montgomery in a news board. I went, what? It's just a practice squad receiver for the Colts being elevated. Everyone relax. PPR Conklin versus Houston, Jordan versus Houston, Brown versus New York Jets, or Thielen versus New Orleans. The tight end's kind of a wash. I'm probably leaning Jordan because I like his quarterback better. Matchups are great for both. Conklin's been serviceable. I'm leaning Jordan. I'd play Brown over Thielen probably this week, I think. Check the numbers. Checking. Yeah, I'm playing Brown. We'll see how you feel by the time this is over about those insights of mine. I appreciate y'all coming, man. Andrea, here come the hard questions. Y'all draft too damn good, man. That last one, I'm still bothered by. Like having to pick between those, there's whoever you leave out is capable of super huge games. And that's one of the problems we have as fantasy managers, that FOMO, the fear of missing out on a big game. Well, count on the guys you're putting in there to have big games. And it's, I know these are tough decisions. So I don't mean to be dismissive of them and just like, wow, you have too many good players. But wow, you have a lot of good players. And Andrea has always been a good drafter, so I know this. McKinnon versus Buffalo, Bijan versus Tampa, Javonte versus LA Chargers in a PPR. Mostert, McKinnon, Bijan, Javonte. That's tough too. I'm probably playing Mostert and Bijan. If you're a little worried about that matchup, against Tennessee, or you think it's going to be a pass-heavy day, Javonte's fine. I'll let you know how close I have them ranked because it is pretty close. Closer than it usually is because of the matchup. Yeah, they're both right at the mid running back 2 category. So if you wanted to play Javonte Williams in a more favorable matchup, I'd be perfectly fine with that. But McKinnon is definitely off the radar in this one. I think you're taking your chances there. And you might win if you get him, but you're taking your chances. Which of these wide receivers would you prefer this week? Puka Nacua at Baltimore, Rashee Rice versus Buffalo, Nico Collins at New York Jets, or Jaden Reed at New York Giants? I was sure Jaden Reed was playing. If he doesn't get a questionable designation today, I wouldn't mind playing him. I'm probably playing Nacua. My rankings would be like Collins, Nacua, Reed, Rice. But if you're factoring in the weather and the coverages, like just in general, my mental rankings based on roles and likely outcomes. Collins is going to get sauced, and nobody likes that. So Nakua seems like a reasonable play, but he's on the East Coast too, so the weather's maybe a factor. So if you're playing the Giants game, the weather might be run out by Monday night. Probably Nakua. Like I don't want to get too far off Collins because I try not to shy away from the tough matchups, and it is factored into the rankings, right? I think Collins would be ranked much higher this week if he weren't facing the New York Jets. I think I have him at 18 this week. Nakua at 21. Rice at 26. I read down a little. Reed at 27. That's what the algorithm thinks. So I want to play Collins really bad because I want him to not be fearful of matchup. But if you are, it's Nakua. Maybe. I think it's Keaton Mitchell o'clock. That's my thought, right? But I've told myself a happy story because I've been invested. You've heard me chirping about Keaton Mitchell, and you've heard people on this channel chirping about. I think Billy Musio started bringing him up in August when he was still on IR. Get this guy on your radar, keep him there, because he's a playmaking threat. And I think we saw the workload last week. If you're a believer in that workload, or that workload is sticky to some degree, and I think it is probably. I think get on with your bad self. I honestly, I want to just quickly, because I do think it merits. What was it last week? It was a good workload. The Ravens have 22 rushing touchdowns. They're tied for Dolphins the most in the NFL. They scored at least one rushing touchdown in 6 straight games. That's pretty good. Mitchell has double-digit fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games with at least 10 touches in 2 of them. He's a super huge big play threat. I'm probably playing that ceiling. I just am because I can't not. So I think it is o'clock of Mitchell. Chase versus Indy. St. Brown versus Chicago. Olave versus Carolina. Devontae Smith versus Dallas. Maybe I'm dialing back on Olave in this one, right? Had the flu the last couple of days. Coming off a huge game or before he left. 2 weeks ago was having a huge game. The quarterback situation worries me a little bit. I think those other ones are easier calls. Hi, Bob. How do you feel about having Justin Herbert as your starting quarterback going into fantasy? I'd feel better if they weren't struggling, but I still feel pretty good. He's still a pretty good player, right? I think in general, recently the points per game had come down, but prior to what is it right now? I got to watch the clock so I don't run out of time here. I get rambling, people. Rambling. Points per game. Oh, I don't want that. I want this. Damn it. Many screens in front of me, people. I want to say Justin Herbert. We're still at 19.8 points per game. He had been close, so yeah. I feel a lot worse, right? I do think the struggles are concerned. I'm hoping they can get correct. But he's still been pretty productive. And I think sometimes this is we get in our head a team is bad and we think the individual components are bad when they aren't necessarily as bad as the performance of the team in general. I know it was a lousy game in New England, so that kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth too. They didn't score any points or any touchdown points. What would you do? 2 quarterback league. I'm an underdog, but got off well with Elliott. Yeah. I was overly enthusiastic there. Pardon me. Got off well with Elliott. 2 quarterback leagues have Fields versus Detroit, Lamar versus Rams. Also have Browning versus Indy. I'd go with. I'm playing Fields. I'm playing Fields and Lamar. But if you prefer Browning, okay. Fields is top 10 for me. I would not do this, Dominic. And if you're sitting there Monday and you didn't do this and it was the right call, you're going to be very angry with yourself for listening to me and not yourself. But that's what I would do. Kerry Mulder, hello. Half-point PPR need 2. Javonte Williams, Singletary, Jaden Reed, Ridley, and McKinnon. Javonte for sure. Probably Singletary playing at like semi-safe. I feel like the matchup is great, and even if he's splitting, I don't know. I feel a little more comfortable with his split than McKinnon's. I do like Jaden Reed a lot, and Ridley is fine. I wonder if the dynamic changes in that receiving core without Christian Kirk, who is on IR. Maybe Parker Washington's going to cut into everyone's workload. Zay Jones is off the injury report too, so maybe that helps him. Helps Ridley actually a little bit. But the quarterback uncertainty, I'm going to go with those running backs. Madison or Edwards-Helaire? I'm giving that a lot of thought. That's one I haven't gotten. I've got a lot of Madison questions this week. I wonder if people are getting comfortable or at least confident or at least certain. I'd probably play I think if you want the floor, Madison's not going to get you a 0 guy. I don't think Edwards-Helaire is going to get you a 0, but I think a little more upside there. I'd probably play Edwards-Helaire in that matchup. If Taysom Hill plays, do I play him or Isaiah Likely? Like if Taysom Hill's playing and I'm confident he's going to make it through the whole game, he's a tempting thing because of that varied role that he plays that can be so productive. Likely's probably the wiser play right now, and the decision may be made for you before kickoff, Kerry. Need 2, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, Puka, and Reed. Is weather a factor? Weather is less a factor for me than it probably is for other people. I'm old and mean and weather agnostic. Football is a winter sport. It's been played in inclement weather since its beginnings. Points have been scored in horrible weather. Is it ideal? No. Are you using to split hairs? Like in this case, maybe we were splitting hairs. So Flowers, lousy weather. Puka, lousy weather. Reed, maybe the lousy weather is going to be less a factor because the storm's moving through Monday. I'm not a meteorologist, so don't take my word on this. Here's what I'm doing. I'm waiting until tomorrow, and I'm seeing what the weather is in each place. Right. And there are reports out there on the interwebs. If you use your Google device, you can find them. You will listen to the pregame show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio with myself and Jeff Mans. We'll have that. If it's really bad, we'll throw that out there. In a vacuum, I would play Puka, Flowers, right? It's pretty close between Rice and Flowers. How close? I'll tell you. 23 and 26. And then Reed just 27. So, you're hovering over the target, sir, on all these guys. They're right in the same range, right? So good question. And so I think that I play them in that order, and and let the weather as it's playing out be my guide because they're all decent plays, right? So if you want to avoid the weather, switch from one to the other, right? So there you have it. Andrea, need 1 flex. Garrett Wilson versus Houston, McKinnon versus Buffalo, CH versus Buffalo, Addison versus Vegas, Zay Flower versus Los Angeles Rams. I kind of want to play Garrett Wilson because Zach Wilson's back. CEH is probably the play here for me. I think I'm going to take that chance. Dubs. Oh, I didn't light up the question. Look at me go. Dubs, Minshew or Browning? I like them in the order of Minshew, Browning, Dubs, I believe. Let me double check that for you, sir. Well, actually, I like them Dubs, Minshew, and Browning. Look at me go. Yeah, Dubs, Minshew, Browning. Scott Kobe, Tyler Lockett versus 49ers, Adam Thielen versus Saints, Drake London versus Tampa Bay. I have a hunch about Adam Thielen, Drake London's one of my hunchy players. Had a decent game against him last time. The problem is the passing attack's not good, right? So, if it is working at all, I think Drake London's going to be a big factor in this passing game against the Tampa Bay defense. It's very generous to the wide receivers. That said, he's Drake London. He plays with Desmond Ridder. Tyler Lockett's too boom bust for me, man. I want to say I'm going Thielen, London, Thielen, Lockett. That's my order. London, Thielen, Lockett. The algorithm actually agrees with me on this one. Will wonders never cease? Oh, that's a tough call, Scott. That's how I'm going, though. Hi, Bob. Hi, Brandon Neely. Halfway PPR, Flacco goes. Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, the Monsoon. Second in a full PPR, would you play Mostert or Chain? I play A-Chan right now. Yeah, I play Moore. I mean, you got 12 targets. He only caught 4 of them. Would like him to catch more, but he seems like he'll be plenty busy. Garrett Wilson. If it's a monsoon, maybe you look and see what the weather is. I mean, if you think if it's the monsoon you think, then yes. Remy, need one for my flex, non PPR. DJ Moore, Madison, Nakua, Keaton Mitchell. Ugh, I want to play Keaton Mitchell. Oh, what did I just do? I just did something. I went to full screen. That was scary. I played DJ Moore this week. DJ Moore. And Mitchell is very tempting. Damn it. Scott Kobe, Derrick Henry versus Miami, Devin Singletary versus Jets, AJ Dillon versus Giants. Need 2 of 3 in a PPR. Just worried game script gets away from the Titans. It might well. Still probably playing Henry, and I'm playing Singletary. I think Aaron Jones is going to be back for this one, Scott, or maybe Dillon would be a better consideration. And maybe if we find out today, because the injury report will come out in a little bit, maybe we find out that they were just shining the sun and Jones isn't ready, then maybe I would rethink a little bit, but not much. I'm probably still playing Henry and Singletary. Javonte Williams over Puka for me, Jesse. Andrea, need 3. Brandon Cooks, Philadelphia. Lockett, San Francisco. Godwin, Adam Thielen versus New Orleans. Lockett's probably taking a seat here. Let me verify that with the algorithm to see if it agrees with me. No, it doesn't. I hate that. The algorithm likes Lockett a little better than Godwin. Yeah, I'll go with that. So Cooks for sure. Thielen and Lockett. Godwin sits. Dame, London versus Tampa Bay, or Addison versus Las Vegas. I can't quit him in this case for sure. They're both USC wide receivers. Look at that. I should have known. I'm playing London. Pat Vu just made all this worthwhile. Need 2 non-PPR, 10 points, 10-point TDs. Holy smokes. 10-point TDs, 10-point bonus for 100 yards. Kamara, and Kamara. I'm probably playing Kamara and, Kamara and Montgomery. I'm not going to outsmart myself here. Browning or Minshew, I think we ran through this, Andrew. You probably heard it, but in case you didn't, my rankings are very close. Right, so it's Minshew slightly ahead of Browning. I have them within 3 of each other, so I don't know if there's a wrong answer there, but that's the direction I have them in. Do you think Chris Olave plays this week? And if not, what does that do to the Saints offense? It does nothing good. I mean, if it's A.T. Perry and Lim Bowden Jr. and maybe Marquez Callaway, because we're not going to see Rashid either. I mean, I don't think that's a great thing, right? And Juwan Johnson's nicked up. Don't know if we will or won't see Taysom Hill at this point. I think maybe this ruins my Kamara. Carolina's the defense that every running back excels against, right? And I'm just looking for Kamara to have a smash game. I think that's the odds of him performing up to my expectations are greater with more pieces around him. So I hope that's the case. But even if not, I'm sticking with him. Handcuff question for Jesse Cedillo. Currently have MCM, Swift and Herbert. MCM. CMC? MCM doesn't come right to mind, so I'm going to pretend it's CMC. Swift and Herbert, would you pick up Mitchell or Gainwell to stash? I would have to drop Herbert. Also on waivers is Roschon Johnson. I don't know that Roschon Johnson is not more of a ends up being more of a one. Based on last game, he was on the field way more than Herbert, and I think it was because they were throwing the ball a lot. I don't know that will always be the case. I would like to have CMC's backup, and it would be Mitchell. It's not Mitchell this week though because he's doubtful. Gainwell's been out snapping Swift already, and hasn't turned into more work, kind of equal work in terms of routes run and things like that. But I'm trying not to play Swift, and I don't know that Gainwell upgrades that. I think I want to have CMC's handcuff if I'm handcuffing. Dolphins D or 49ers D? I'll go with 49ers D. In the hopes that there's quarterback issues there. Well, there are quarterback issues there. Geno's not full speed, and it might be Drew Lock, and not that Drew Lock is the worst thing ever, but not as much work with the first offense, I'm guessing. So, and 49ers also pretty good. Kenneth Walker, Mr. Scabbers. Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet versus San Francisco, or TJ Spears versus Miami. Oh, so we got a late afternoon kickoff and a Monday night kickoff. So I think if Walker's playing, I'm going to play him. I think he sounds like, I think they're both going to play. They both practice fully Friday. So I think they'll both play. I think my preference here is Walker. Maybe Spears is the best. The previous question mentioned, if the game script gets out of hand, maybe we see a little more Spears. I'm going Walker. Walker. If Breece Hall doesn't go, who at flex? Zay Flowers or Ford? I'd probably go Ford. Hello, Eric Romoff. HPPR narrows down to Henry or Mostert in the same game. I want to say Mostert probably, but it's close. I was looking at this last night. It is close. It's way closer. I'm probably going Henry. I'm going Henry. Dame, probably because I like old dudes, because I am an old dude, but also probably because that there's so many rushing touchdowns. But I just think this is going to be a pass-heavy game in this one, and I think maybe Mostert and A-Chain are going to cancel each other out. I have Elijah Moore. Do you think Cooper plays this week? I do not think Cooper plays this week. I would like more with Flacco if possible. Also, I would like more with Flacco if possible. Although I don't think Cooper back ruins more if Flacco's quarterback. Rachel. Hide my cats. Hello, cats. They're here. They're sitting up on the landing. Twitch 2 out of Sutton, Thielen, Myers, Puka, Lockett, Downs. Sutton for sure. Puka. Sutton and Puka. Go Army, beat Navy. I don't know. I'm just happy they're playing those teams. I don't follow college that much. I know that the people are heavily invested in this. I see in my military appreciation draft, the chat is off the charts because there are both Army and Navy people in that league, and by golly, they're having at it. So may the best team win. Still play Devontae Smith? Yes, still playing him. Maybe dialing back expectations a little bit. Maybe a little less so this week, first game back. But no, I totally get the question. That's been Goddard's absence has been a corresponded not just this year but last year, a 5-game stretch as well, with more work for Devontae Smith. But I don't think I'm dialing off him. I'm still playing him, and maybe it depends on your options. I play Zildjians when I play. Also endorsing the Jackson guitar, Mapex drums, DW pedals, for asking. All right, nobody's asking that. CEH versus Buffalo or Madison versus Las Vegas. I'm playing CEH, Remy, and it's a PPR, so that doesn't hurt. Hello, Robert Mitchell. Who should I start, CEH or McKinnon or both? Depending on your options. I wouldn't be averse to both, but I'm probably playing CEH. So Andy Reid was really sneaky when he made the comment who the starter is, and he said it was CEH, but they have packages for both. And we have a little more history, a little more positive history, that late season run with McKinnon. Does he regain that form? Does he regain that role? I think that's possible. But I think more likely is CEH in a team that's pretty easy to run against, gets the heavy duty work. I'm probably thinking a little more volume. Could be, could depend on game script. So, that's the argument for both. Would be interested in your options there, Robert, but I'm probably going CEH and then McKinnon. And if your options are, I don't know. I tried to think somebody who would be really easy, and it doesn't come right to mind. Oh, look at him. Hey there. How you doing? WB Fields or Herbert? Already starting Allen versus LA Chargers and Eckler. I'm playing Fields over Herbert this week either way. And I don't want to put all my eggs in that Chargers basket at the moment. All right. Me and the hunch and the algorithm will combine up my hunch. Okay. So my hunch is big Gabe Davis game. I wrote about this in my DFS 3-and-out column. I'm going to play him in tournaments. The deep balls are there, have been going his way, even with Kincaid and Khalil Shakir kind of rising up. He's getting the deep shots. You know he's a boom bust play. CEH is a smart play. Campers. CEH is a smart play. Gabe Davis is my hunch play, which means Addison is obviously the right answer. Thielen, Flowers, Lockett. Flowers, Thielen, Lockett, weather depending, Dame. You know, if we turn on TVs and it's like some kind of horrible monsoon, I heard that word used earlier. I don't want to play him in a monsoon. Would like to play him. Thielen would be next up. And at New Orleans, there will be no rain. And Lockett will be the last of that group. Well, I hope so, because that's all I got. That's all I got. Thank you. I'm Mark Spafford. I got a feeling Pacheco is going on IR because I hear the Chiefs just added a third running back on the practice squad. They got generic Prince. Andy Reid was asked about this and basically said, we'll see. So I believe that feels like it's entirely possible to me. I'm almost caught up with the questions. I think I will get through them all. So let me work through them. Thanks again, everyone, for coming on. Bob Harris, FootballDiehards.com is the website. The Football Diehards is the radio program on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, Monday, Thursday, Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight, 8 p.m. on the NFL Radio and the Fantasy Channel. Tomorrow on with Jeff Mans on the pregame show. Here on every Saturday at noon, every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Also, our DFS lineup shows. Tend to move them around a little bit. Usually Friday, sometimes Saturday. Usually Saturday, sometimes Friday. Last night was Friday. Go watch the replay of that and watch the On the Hot Seat with Armando Marsal. It was great, said me, who was on it. Take that for what it's worth. Hi, Lamont Maxwell. Need 2 running backs and 1 flex. I have Barkley, Achane, Kyron, and White, full PPR. Ah! Oh, so we get 3 of these? Man, I don't want to sit Rashad White, but I am. Maybe I should sit Barkley. Maybe. I have to double check this. Oh, no, I'm not sitting Barkley. I don't want to sit Achane. Good Lord. There's no wrong answer here, Lamont. If you're making me sit one, I'm probably just going to sit White because I can't get away from the upside. My algorithm would tell you to sit Kyron. That's because all these guys are running back once. That's why. Half-point PPR, 10 points for TD. Would you start Puka Nacua or Nico Collins this week? I'd look at the weather a little bit, but it's probably going to be the same in both places. In a vacuum, I would play Nico Collins over Puka Nacua. So that's probably what I would do. Kicker question. Gay better weather than Cincy or Patterson or maybe worse weather? I'm fine playing Gay. I trust Gay. Need a flex. Hi, Great Went. Hello. Need a flex from Puka, Rice, Lockett, Jarek. Probably going to go Puka here. And Jarek might be a good answer. I mean, I would not dismiss McKinnon, but just don't know, right? I mean, I feel a little more comfortable with what Puka's role is, if nothing else. So nice to see Tootsie Pop in here. Rachel in the house. Have a bye. Do you like Colts defensive team week 16 or so? I can't even get the questions right for this week, Jelly of the month. Colts versus Falcons and Raiders. I do like that, but they're not great, right? But, the Colts defense, not great. I mean, Miami, better defense in general. I mean, if you like the matchups, I do like the matchups for them. That's for sure. So, yes, based on the matchups, I'm not against that. Jesse, Gus or Keaton Mitchell? I'm playing Keaton Mitchell this week. Oh, rest of the season, I'm playing Keaton Mitchell. Thank you, Golf Boy. Oh, Eric Romack. Yeah, okay, I figured it out. Thank you, Jesse. Sometimes I see something I think I should know it, like MCM. There's probably something really obvious, and it's not. Thank you, Scott, for coming. Also appreciate it. Lamont Maxwell, need 2. Bijan, Mostert, Montgomery, Keaton. You're making these up. I'm playing Bijan and Montgomery. And I'm playing Ayuk. And I feel really good about that one. Much better than I do about the running backs. Because anytime you're asking me to sit a Miami Dolphin running back, I fear I'm going to lose out on a touchdown. James Cook, Ford, or Swift maybe in that order. Like, I don't want to say I'm that far off Swift. I'm pretty far off Swift though right now. Cook for sure is the top of that list. Probably Swift slightly ahead of Ford, but honestly, it's been bad. Single digit points have been the norm. Got a few more questions. I'll try to race through them and get the hell out of here so I can get to the next thing. Yee. Defense, Chiefs or Falcons? Probably going to play the. I'm going to play the Chiefs and hope it's a bad Josh Allen shows up. But I don't hope that because I like his pieces. Half-point PPR. Higgins versus Indy or Godwin versus Atlanta. That's going to be Higgins for me there. I'm sorry, I didn't put the question up. Thank you. Wow, Browns waves PJ Walker. That'll teach him. Boy, that tells you something right there, though. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate y'all coming. Thank you, Scampers. Appreciate your time. Andrea, love your questions. Cooper cleared. Yes. Good news. I got to guess. I guess I have to. Oh, yeah, I'm just now seeing it now that I look at my device. So he is cleared. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Good luck, everybody. Appreciate you all. Thank you, Sniper Mel, for showing up. Look forward to our contest going forward. All right, everybody, that's it. Bob Harris will sign off for the day. Appreciate you all coming once again. I'm Bob Harris. Football Diehards is the website. Football Diehards is the radio program. You hear it on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. It's on Monday, Thursday, Friday, 10 p.m. 3 hours on Monday and Thursday. Can't get enough of me? That's where you'll find me. Saturday night, another 3-hour show. 8 to 11. We'll take your calls too. So if you didn't get your question in here, or I think I hit them all, but if I missed something or you have more questions or maybe we have a little more clarity on the weather, I'll be on there tomorrow on the pregame show from 11 to 1 with Jeff Mans. We'll have even more clarity. We'll get the inactives in and all that good stuff. And appreciate you. And Scott Kobe says, I'm the best. No, I say you're the best. Thanks again. I'll see you all Wednesday, 7 p.m. for On the Hot Seat. I don't know who the guest is yet. I got to figure it out. Thank you. Over and out.